The doctors told the parents, he's dead, you should donate his organs. There's nothing else that can be done. This case, I would emphasize, is a learning case because it challenges our assumptions. It teaches us that there's so much about medicine that we don't fully understand, that there's so much about the nervous system, the brain and the spine that we don't fully understand, and that there's a long ways for us to go. The parents sought the perspective of doctors from all over the world, all over North America, all over Europe, all over the United States. And everybody told them appropriately that, there's really, nothing, this case is over. When I initially reviewed it, I thought, he must be dead. There's no way he's even alive. Some people had said, if it's better not to approach a case like that, because what if he does die? What if he doesn't do well? But in my mind, I thought, whatever the chance, however remote, what's his other option? It would have been certain death at home, sitting in a brace for months. It would have been certain death at home, unable. And so to me, this was a reasonable path forward, as long as the family understood the risks and wanted to go down that difficult journey. And this mother and this father, they didn't hesitate for a minute. To them, this is the path that they wanted. We had to plan this very methodically. This is not something that you can just rush into. This was not one surgery. This was multiple surgeries over 5 days. These were planned very methodically in terms of how to approach them, how to do them, how to best, save this life and try to restore function. There were 3 elements to this surgery. The first element was the posterior stabilization, where we stabilized the skull to the cervical spine. The second element was an anterior surgery where we removed the bone that had been fractured and placed a bone graft, and then with a plate and screws to hold all of that together to recreate the stability. The goal of that is to recreate the stability of the vertebral column and the skull. Then the third element of the surgery was recreating the spinal cord, reapproximating. There was a spinal cord herniation and transection, and then the piece that had transected was herniated. So reapproximating that recreating the lining that protects the spinal cord. And all of those are very complicated things to do in an adult. They're even more complicated in a 2-year-old child because a little bit of blood loss becomes a very big deal. In fact, the first week after the surgeries were done was a very difficult week. At one point, Oliver's heart stopped, and we thought that we lost him. But the team reacted so well. We have an exceptional ICU team. We had a whole team taking care of him, of surgeons, multiple specialties, ICU, neurologists. Everybody really came together at the University of Chicago to take great care of Oliver. The strange things began to happen. He started to move his hand. And, for 2 months, he couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden he's moving his hand, and he himself looked at his hand when he saw it move, and he began to smile. He knew, this hand that I haven't been able to move for 3 months, now I can move it. And then the other hand, and then the foot, and then the other foot. And then he began to sense when he has to urinate. He began to control that. He began to breathe over the breathing machine, the ventilator. And today he's able to do 90% of his day without that. Oliver and I do speak, and I tell him, Oliver, I have so many things to tell you as you get older. And so as he gets older, I'll have many things to be able to tell him. But, he's still a 2-year-old, of course.